Crystal Marie, your host of the Divas Circle. The Divas Circle is a talk show for women like you, like me, like us, the total woman. We talk beauty, health, encouragement, and the faith needed to get us through life. Think of the Divas Circle as your extended circle of friends. Welcome into the Divas Circle.
So the product that we're loving today is called Poshmark. It's a mobile app that lets you share your closet and view the closets of others to take a look at what they have that's fantastic and things that you might actually want to purchase. What's great about Poshmark is it actually lets you get inspiration from other people in terms of what they're doing and how they're styling their wardrobes. And it also allows you to create a little more income for yourself if you are so inclined. It allows you to price the different things that you no longer love that someone else can actually love. The best thing about it, I think, is that you can also find things that are brand spanking new. So you can search for things that are new with tags, and you can search for things that are gently loved. And you can find things, everything from Louis Vuitton bags and Christian Dior to American Apparel. So the spectrum's pretty broad. If you want to know more about it, make sure to visit thedivainc.com, or you can also visit my closet at Savvy Click Chick on Poshmark.
Welcome to the Divas Circle. I'm your host, Crystal Marie, and I'm joined by Jessica, Adrian, and Yvette. Thank you, ladies, for being on the show. I'm sure by now you've all heard about the recent suicide of the For Brown Girls founder, Karen Washington. Washington committed suicide at age 22, and according to the Huffington Post, was unable to extend the love that she had for others to herself. In contrast, Lupita Nyong'o has been receiving some amazing media attention since her recent role in 12 Years a Slave. While depression and mental illness were reportedly at play in the death of Karen Washington, I believe that society's views of beauty didn't help. Would you consider yourself beautiful?
I had to work on it. And I think a lot of it had to do with society and my own insecurity. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of embraced everything that I am. I've embraced my flaws, my strengths, things, and just kind of gone with it. It's like, this is who I am, may as well love it.
I'm still trying to get there. Sometimes I feel beautiful, sometimes I don't. So I'm always trying to see what makes other people beautiful. I see beauty when I see someone who's full of energy, who's very generous, who's giving. It doesn't really matter what their external looks are. There's just this beauty that radiates from that person. So I don't always feel beautiful, but when I'm energetic, that's when I feel a bit more beautiful.
No, I'd have to agree, right? I say it absolutely because I do now. Really, I'm fabulous.
But I like it.
But at the end of the day, it did take some time to actually get there, right? Growing up, I did have a few self-esteem issues that I recognized later, but once I did, was able to actually work on it, right? And once you do that, you grow into your own, you grow into yourself, and you just become fabulously you.
Fabulous.
What did you do to gather your self-esteem?
A lot of self-reflection. That's what it took for me, actually looking at myself, thinking about what is it that I want to contribute to the world, what is it that I see is an issue, because a lot of times we see what other people's perspectives are, and that's what we think. They say perception is reality, right? And at the end of the day, what you perceive others to think of you is how you may actually see yourself. And so once you break that barrier of seeing other people's eyes or through other people's eyes and realizing that you have to see yourself through your own eyes, then it becomes easier to actually accept yourself.
I agree with that, because I think, Adrian, you have a really good point about the perceptions of others, and you choose whether you want to embrace those perceptions or not. And as I've gotten older, I realize these people don't necessarily know me. You know, it's like, who am I and who do I want to be? And how close am I to being that person? And so that noise, all that noise in the background, you kind of get to quiet it a little bit. And as you said, it's a constant sort of a, I guess, challenge, because some days you're on it, and other days something happens and You're just kind of squeamish and uncertain again. So it's, I think, continually, everyone, if you're a human being, you're going to feel insecure sometimes, and you're going to let the noise of other people's perceptions distract you. But the point is to be who you are. Would you say fabulously you?
Yes,
Yeah.
fabulously you.
I love it.
That's a
With a
good
snap.
tagline.
I love it.
I like that tagline.
What role does society play in the way that you view yourself?
Wow, it looks like you're looking right. You are. Looking right at me.
It's a deep question.
That's a tough one. I mean, I really believe society influences every aspect of our lives, whether we know it or not. I'm in marketing, so I know this. But on a personal level, it's everything. It's, are my boobs big enough? Am I too tall? Are my feet too big? Are my lips too whatever? It's you see these glossy, beautiful covers, and you see all these wonderful, amazing people on TV who are completely, photoshopped, and they have, all this stuff is going on in the background, but you're just seeing what you see, and you think that, man, they're perfect. Why am I not perfect? And you see it at such a young age that it kind of, when you're forming your identity, I think that if we all came out of the womb and we were 35 years old, maybe we wouldn't be as susceptible and vulnerable to what
Could
society
you
says.
imagine a 35-year bake time?
Oh, come on, no, but the whole point is, it's like you're so vulnerable. You have not known yourself, and so when you see all this other stuff at that young age, it's bound to have an impact and an influence.
Absolutely.
I know when I was younger, I got teased a lot. And that was really hard. And I think I started going home and then kind of teasing myself a little bit, taking what people were saying about me and taking that on and giving them the power over me and over my self-esteem. And I think what I'm finding out now is that self-esteem is really about the way you view yourself.
Right.
Where you get that view, though, can come from magazines, can come from your upbringing, can come from different ways, can come from the people that you're around. So how do the people that you're around affect your day-to-day self-esteem?
For me, I mean, so I'm in an industry where I'm constantly being looked at, being a performing artist. I think I try to block it out sometimes, the way people look at me, because sometimes I can see some people look at me and they look at another friend of mine who's absolutely gorgeous, internally and externally, and they would just look at her. And of course, it makes me feel, oh gosh, maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. But then, so I that's how I feel from external. I feel a bit ignored. But when I get the discipline to quiet that inner critic, because there's always, for me at least, there's always going to be that inner critic that says, you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, blah, 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 blah. But once I'm aware of that, I say, okay, well, who cares? What is it that I want to show to others? Maybe today I just want to listen. Maybe today I just want to do one good deed. And hopefully concentrating on someone else or some activity will make me quiet that noise that keeps on making me doubt myself and doubt my beauty. Yeah.
I would say for me, it's more so for a couple of years, it seemed like there was more the aspect of the environment I was working in. Good environment, but you start to question, am I smart enough to be here? Is this really, like, I'm contributing, but I'm hearing this person talk and I'm hearing this person talk, and it seems like they have a one-up on me, right? But at the end of the day, when you look at it, again, this perception is reality. You're all on the same level playing field. Right. And for me, it took a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
And hearing that, sometimes the loudest voice is not always the one that really knows everything going on.
That's very true.
And sometimes they're the most insecure.
Exactly.
Ironically enough. I'm glad you mentioned prayer, because I think that with my journey, that was very, very helpful. It's like, because it's all about an introspection, and it's all about, well, what is a good person to me? What am I giving back? What does beauty mean to me? and kind of knowing that God loves me, and this is going to take a weird spin,
That's okay.
but knowing that God loves me, created me uniquely as me, it kind of empowered me, and it kind of made me wake up and say, if I don't love myself, I'm slapping God in the face. He created me perfectly the way I am. I better embrace that. So it was kind of an odd sort of a wake-up call for me.
See, I think I have the same faith. I know that God loves me, and I know that He created me to be the person that I am. But there are more moments than I would like, that I feel like, less than, or, yeah, I'm glammed up today, but, I really don't feel beautiful all the time.
One of the things for me is that that really helped me out is, okay, I'm going to be fine with who I am today. What is the purpose that God actually has me here for? And that's one of the things that actually helped me come about from that point of low self-esteem to having a bit higher, and pursuing things that I felt were the path I should be going along. So out of that, confidence begins to build up, and then you realize, okay, this is really working out for me. I'm confident, I'm strong. Oh, now I'm kind of feeling myself right now.
Feeling fabulous.
So, exactly. Fabulously you. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think, again, there's the introspection, there's the prayer, but there's also understanding what you're here for, or at least trying to find out. Because sometimes I wonder, God, what's my purpose really?
The friends or the people in general that you choose to be in your life do impact you. It's like your kid. You want to make sure that your kid is hanging out with people who are not, looting and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, because it influences who you are. And so I've always tried to keep in mind, aspire to have people who are positive, people who are giving and gracious and good, and are demonstrating the goodness that we should be demonstrating in life. And that helps me be a more positive person, because when I'm around negative people, I just feel like I feel like drained. It's a total energy drain, and I don't want to be that way. I don't want to, and I feel like I have a choice. Sometimes you don't, people you work with and so on, but how much time you spend with them and the impact you allow them to have on you, that's our choice. And we have to remember that we own our own power. We choose what our life is going to be like.
Now, we're all talking about how we feel now, but can you think back to a time when you were younger where your self-esteem was really damaged, and how that affects you now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from my experience and the experience of some of my friends, there's always a point when you're growing up, whether you're an adolescent or a teenager, where you just feel people are judging you on the way you look, on the brands that you have or do not have, on the clothes you wear, on how thin or how fat you are. For me, at least specifically, that happened when I was in middle school. I just felt, it's
Middle
like
school's tough.
middle school's tough. It's like Mean Girls.
Yes, it is.
But and that has affected me as I've grown up, because I feel like I'm always thinking, trying to please other people, by the way I look, by the way I talk. In a way, though, as I grew up, I'm using that flaw. I don't really call it a flaw. That little neuroses I had, now I use it, because now I can understand when other people are feeling insecure. Because truthfully, even as glammed up, as beautiful supermodel as you are, everybody has insecurities.
That's true.
So having experienced that, I can at least empathize with people who are going through some insecurities. So I've had it, definitely.
For me, I remember, like, when I was in middle school too, I loved this boy. Oh my goodness. He was just gorgeous, like middle school gorgeous. And I remember going up to him and kind of asking him out or telling him I liked him, and he said that I wasn't his type. And that led me down a road that I started to think about, well, am I not pretty enough? Am I not light enough? Am I not tall enough? at the time, of course, middle schoolers, we don't have breasts, we don't have butts, but were my breasts not big enough? Like, what was it that I wasn't his type? And when I think about it now, I think about a lot of things, but one thing that I think about is, can you have a type that early? And what are your views shaped on?
But what does that even mean?
Right.
You're not my type. Well, you know what? You're not my type either. That's
He was really
But obviously, if you weren't his type, then he wasn't your type.
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
But that affects me to this day. That rejection plays itself out in different areas, whether I get rejected on the job or if I get rejected about another love interest or something like that. It really sets me off into a way where I have also thought about, suicide and things like that. What, have you guys ever been there? Have you ever thought, has the thought ever even crossed your mind?
For me, no. I've always felt like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And that's never actually occurred to me as a viable option. But I have been really depressed. I've been in like the depths of depression, which I kind of saw in retrospect, not during that moment, and just felt like, what's the purpose? What's the point?
Yes.
I'm so tired. This is bad. Whatever. But luckily for me, I've always felt like I've had a relationship with God, and I know that you have too. And I've just been very fortunate to kind of like snap myself out of it, because I'm also kind of a person I'm kind of a black and white person in a lot of ways, where it's like after a while I will get tired of someone complaining, even if it's me. And I will be just like, okay, enough already. Shut up, or just live with it, or do something about it. And so my default action is always, okay, what am I going to do to change this? And then I just take my power back. And so it's always about, I think, knowing that you own this life. You own this life. You only have this life. And that Christ died for us. If you take your life, you're saying that didn't mean anything, and that it wasn't worth him dying, and so it's just, I don't know if that's helpful. I know that you're beyond that point, but I think anyone who's watching this, whoever thinks about that, just think about the fact that every day is a different day, and every day you can make a small change, and maybe you won't get there like that, but ultimately create the life that you want, however possible. If it means you have to go and get some help or go to a quiet place, I don't know, but your life is valuable to so many. It's not just,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think in the moment though, because I've had that moment several times in my life, you are alone. You don't think past that. You aren't thinking about the future. You're in that specific moment. And if there's nobody there around you to, in that moment, tell you, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this day. You're going to make it through this situation. This is one rejection, you'll make it to the next one. I think that's where it's that critical moment where you're alone, that somebody needs to speak into your life so that you can make it past that moment. Luckily for me, and I consider myself to have a strong faith, even though I have moments of weakness. For me, it was the people that I surrounded myself with who were really in touch with, okay, even though I'm not in that moment with her, she is going through something where we have to reach out, where we have to call her, where we have to affirm her, where we have to, bless her, pray over her, whatever it was in that moment. That's what they did for me to make it through. And for the people who are watching this, I'm just wondering who's around them in that moment.
Right.
That
So
can
it's
do
going to
the
be
same
critical
thing.
and important to have that group of people around you that can actually help pull you out. Because we can't get through life alone. We actually have to have someone there with us to help us along the way, just like we would actually help them. And so in moments like that, again, that's where having positive people around you makes a difference. Having your family around you makes a difference. Those that actually love and care for you, that makes a huge difference. And so I would say, if you're afraid to reach out, don't be afraid. Make that reach.
And it could also mean deciding that there are people who are negative in your life who actually get you to a point where you feel so low that are not adding any true positivity to your life, that you actually decide to cut those folks out. Because if they're not positive and supportive and uplifting, maybe they shouldn't be around you.
Thank you for joining us in this discussion. Hopefully you guys got something out of this and it resonated with you and that we helped you or blessed you in some kind of way. Be sure to visit thedivainc.com and follow us on our YouTube channel. And join us for the next episode where we're talking about relationships and how to build healthy ones. Thanks.
Just imagine the music that goes with the back of this bugle.